The cold wind howled across the barren plains of Irinder, carrying with it the scent of metal and dust. High above, a small spaceship tumbled uncontrollably through the sky, sparks flying from its damaged hull. Inside, a tiny alien child floated in a basket-like cradle, its large eyes wide with fear and confusion. No one was around to protect it, no one to care, it was utterly alone. Down on the planet, far from the wreckage, a human named Kale wandered through the rocky valleys, searching for resources for his small settlement. Kale was known among the people as quiet, cautious, and kind, often helping creatures others ignored. He had no idea today his life was about to change forever. Suddenly, a distant crash echoed across the valley, shaking the ground beneath Kale's boots. He looked up and saw the burning spaceship plummeting, a trail of fire lighting the dim sky. Without thinking, Kale ran toward the crash, heart pounding with both fear and curiosity. As he approached, the wreckage smoldered, and he noticed the small basket bouncing gently near a broken panel. Kale hesitated, unsure what he would find inside. But when he lifted the cover, he saw the baby alien staring at him with large, shimmering eyes, trembling and silent. Its skin was smooth and slightly glowing, a soft blue hue, and tiny hands reached out instinctively, seeking warmth. Kale's chest tightened, an instinctive human compassion kicking in. He wrapped the alien child in his cloak, careful not to hurt it. "Don't worry, little one," he whispered, unsure if it could understand, yet feeling a strange bond forming. The alien made a soft cooing sound, almost like a sigh of relief, and nuzzled closer. Kale felt an unfamiliar warmth in his heart, the feeling of protecting someone so innocent. Back at Kale's settlement, the villagers noticed him returning with the unusual child, curiosity and fear mingling in their eyes. "Where did you find that?" one asked, while another murmured about strange omens. Kale shook his head, saying, "It needs our help. Alone, it won't survive." Some villagers looked skeptical, but Kale's determination was clear. Days passed, and Kale worked tirelessly to care for the baby alien, feeding it, keeping it warm, and protecting it from harsh weather. He noticed something extraordinary: the alien seemed to understand emotions, reacting to kindness and fear alike. Its eyes would brighten when Kale approached, and it would tremble when danger was near, as if sensing threats humans could not. But the peace was fragile, as distant signals from the alien's home planet began to flicker across the settlement's old communication devices. Strange lights appeared in the night sky, shadows moving too fast for human eyes. Kale sensed a tension he could not explain, a feeling that they were not alone for long. Yet he refused to leave the child behind, even as whispers of fear spread among the villagers. The first night, as the child slept in a small cradle beside Kale, a sudden noise made both of them freeze. A predator-like creature from the wilderness had entered the settlement, sniffing the air, hunting. Kale held the alien close, shielding it with his body, ready to fight. The alien's small hand glowed softly, a faint light that startled the creature and sent it fleeing. Kale realized then that the child was not just vulnerable, it was special, maybe even powerful. He wondered what other secrets the alien held, what abilities it might reveal as it grew. Questions raced through his mind: where did it come from? Who left it behind? Would its people return? The night passed with only the wind as company, the child resting safely in Kale's arms. By dawn, Kale made a silent promise: he would protect this child at all costs. No matter the dangers, no matter the unknown, he would not abandon it as it had been abandoned. Little did he know, their journey had just begun, and the bond between human and alien would soon be tested in ways neither could imagine. For beyond the peaceful valley, shadows stirred, watching, waiting for the moment to strike. And so, a tiny alien child, left alone in a basket, found a guardian in a human named Kale. The first chapter of an extraordinary story had begun, a story of survival, trust, and the unbreakable bond between two very different beings. The sun rose slowly over the jagged mountains of Irinder, casting long shadows across the rocky plains. Kale carried the alien child through the settlement, its small hands clinging to his cloak, eyes wide and curious. Even the villagers, who had once whispered with fear, now watched silently, awe and uncertainty in their gaze. They sensed that this child was not ordinary, though none could say why. Kale placed the child in a safe corner of his small home, wrapping it in soft fabrics scavenged from nearby ruins. He observed the alien closely, noticing the subtle movements, tiny muscles twitching as if it were listening to invisible signals. Then, without warning, the child emitted a soft hum, a vibrating sound that made the air shimmer faintly. Kale's heart raced, realizing that this child might have abilities beyond human understanding. Outside, the wind carried strange whispers, or so Kale thought. Shadows danced unnaturally among the trees, moving with purpose rather than randomness. Something watched them, waiting, calculating, yet invisible to the human eye. Kale tightened his grip on a crude spear he had fashioned, eyes darting across the settlement. As night fell, the alien child stirred, glowing faintly in the darkness. Kale noticed the glow pulsing faster when something approached. A sudden crash from the outer fence made him leap to his feet. A pack of wild predators, creatures with steel-like claws and eyes like burning coals, had found their way to the settlement. Kale moved instinctively, shielding the alien child, as the creatures advanced with terrifying speed. But the child's small hand shone brighter now, emitting a beam of soft, blue light. The light cut through the darkness like a blade, striking the predators, who recoiled in fear, snarling before retreating into the night. Kale stared in awe, realizing that this tiny being held a power he had never imagined. The following morning, Kale tried to teach the child to respond to his voice. It learned quickly, repeating simple gestures and sounds, as if it could understand every word before it left his mouth. Every day, Kale discovered more of its abilities, healing small wounds with a touch, sensing danger before it happened, even moving objects slightly without touching them. Word spread quietly through the village, some fearful, some fascinated, yet none dared approach too closely. Kale knew that the alien child's powers might attract more than wild predators. Signals from its home planet, faint at first, were becoming clearer, pulsing across the sky like invisible threads. Kale realized that the people who had abandoned this child might return, but with intentions unknown. He could feel the tension in the air, as though the valley itself was holding its breath. One night, while Kale slept with the child beside him, the sky split with a sudden flash. A massive ship descended silently, metallic and dark, hovering above the settlement. Strange beings emerged from the ship, tall and elegant, their eyes cold and unfeeling. They searched the settlement, scanning each building, their presence sending shivers through Kale's spine. Kale clutched the child close, hiding in the shadows. The alien seemed to sense the danger instinctively, glowing brighter and nuzzling against him. Kale whispered, "Don't be afraid, I won't let them take you." He had no plan, no weapon strong enough to confront these visitors, only courage and instinct. The beings stopped in front of Kale's home, scanning the air with devices that hummed faintly. Kale felt a surge of fear, yet he could not let them find the child. As if responding to his thoughts, the child's glow expanded, forming a shimmering shield around them. The beings recoiled, their cold eyes widening in surprise, before retreating and vanishing back into the ship. Kale exhaled slowly, realizing the child's power was more than a gift, it was a lifeline. But questions crowded his mind. Who were they? Why was the child left alone? Were they truly enemies, or something else entirely? He knew one thing with certainty: the journey ahead would be filled with dangers far beyond anything he had ever imagined. Yet he could not turn back, not while the child's life depended on him. As dawn broke, the alien child gazed up at him, its large eyes filled with trust and an unspoken promise. Kale felt a bond growing stronger, one that went beyond human or alien. Together, they had survived the first true threat, but Kale understood that survival was only the beginning. The universe had other plans, and their story was only beginning to unfold. And so, in the quiet valley, a human and a small alien child prepared for the trials ahead. The child, once abandoned and helpless, was now a force that could not be ignored. And Kale, the quiet human from a small settlement, was about to become more than a guardian. He was about to become a protector of something extraordinary. The morning light stretched over the valley like pale fingers, yet Kale could feel no comfort. The night had been restless, the memory of the dark ship and its silent watchers lingering in his mind. The alien child slept beside him, glowing faintly even in the early light, as if aware that danger might return. Kale studied the child, a mix of awe and unease growing in his chest. He had never imagined that a single being could change his life so completely. Yet every instinct told him the child was extraordinary, far beyond any creature he had ever encountered. Kale prepared for the day, gathering supplies and reinforcing the small home. Every sound from the valley made him tense, every shadow a possible threat. Then, without warning, the child stirred, its glowing eyes widening as if sensing something invisible. It reached for the sky, small fingers trembling, and a soft vibration hummed through the air. Kale watched in astonishment as a faint light traced shapes across the valley, forming a pattern only he could barely make sense of. The child seemed to be calling, signaling something, or someone, Kale could not yet understand. Suddenly, a distant rumble shook the ground, low and ominous. Kale instinctively grabbed the child, moving toward the shelter of nearby rocks. From the horizon, a fleet of ships appeared, silent but menacing, cutting through the sky like shards of metal. The beings from the previous night were returning, this time with intent that was clear and terrifying. Kale's heart raced, yet he refused to panic. He whispered to the child, "Stay close. We will face this together." The child responded with a soft hum, and a shimmering light expanded around them, a shield of protection unlike anything Kale had seen. The ship stopped at the edge of the valley, scanning, searching, their presence overwhelming and cold. Kale knew he had only moments to act. He remembered an old escape tunnel beneath the settlement, built for emergencies, and dragged the child toward it. The creatures above sensed the movement, a ripple of energy spreading through the air. One ship descended, larger than the others, with mechanical limbs reaching toward them. Kale could feel the weight of the alien technology pressing down, threatening to crush them. But the child was not helpless. Its eyes glowed brighter, and a pulse of energy shot outward, forcing the descending ship to recoil. Kale shielded his eyes, feeling the raw power. This tiny being, left alone and abandoned, was now their only hope against a force far greater than themselves. As they ran through the tunnel, Kale realized the child could sense more than just danger. It knew the tunnel's twists and turns, guiding him with subtle nudges, its small hand glowing to light their path. For a brief moment, Kale wondered how this tiny being could survive so far from home, abandoned and alone. And yet, it had endured, growing stronger, smarter, more powerful with each passing day. Outside, the ships hovered, scanning the valley with relentless precision. Strange drones, smaller than the ships but faster than any human eye could follow, began to descend. Kale pressed the child closer, heart pounding, realizing that even this ancient tunnel might not be safe. He whispered words of encouragement, though he knew fear clung to his voice. The child hummed again, the light forming shapes that seemed to confuse the drones, creating a barrier of energy around them. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, time had become meaningless in the darkness. Finally, the drones retreated, the ships lifted back into the sky, leaving only silence, broken by Kale's heavy breathing. The child nestled against him, exhausted but calm, as if aware that their bond had saved them both. Kale realized that they were no longer just a human and an alien, they were a team, a force neither could understand fully yet. By the time they emerged from the tunnel, the valley was quiet, the sun low in the sky. Kale looked at the child, feeling both relief and a growing sense of urgency. The aliens who abandoned this being had returned, and they would not give up. He knew that the valley would no longer be safe, that their journey had only grown more dangerous. Yet Kale felt a strange thrill, a certainty that they could survive anything together. The child's small hand gripped his, its glow steady and reassuring. He whispered, "No matter what comes, we face it together." And in that moment, Kale understood the truth: they were bound not by choice, but by destiny. A human and an alien, together against the universe, ready to face challenges that no one else could even imagine. As darkness fell, Kale and the child prepared for what lay ahead, knowing that each day would bring new dangers, new mysteries. The valley that had once seemed safe now felt alive with unseen threats. But for the first time, Kale also felt hope. For in this small alien child, he had found something extraordinary: a companion, a protector, and perhaps the key to a story far greater than either of them could have dreamed. The valley was quiet, but Kale could feel tension in the air. Every shadow seemed to move on its own, every rustle of leaves a warning. The alien child slept in a small cradle, its faint glow pulsing gently, almost as if it were breathing with the valley itself. Kale could not relax, not for a single moment, because he knew danger was always near. Suddenly, a strange hum echoed across the valley, low and vibrating. Kale froze, listening, heart pounding. The sound came from the sky, mechanical yet organic, unfamiliar and ominous. He grabbed the child, feeling its warmth, and ran toward the safety of the nearby cliffs. From above, a new kind of ship appeared, unlike any Kale had seen before. It was sleek, black, and almost alive, its surface shimmering like liquid metal. Beams of light scanned the ground, searching for the alien child. Kale ducked behind rocks, shielding the child, whose glow flared nervously, sensing the threat. The ship descended slowly, and from it emerged strange beings, taller and more imposing than the previous visitors. Their eyes glowed a pale green, cold and calculating. They moved silently but with deadly precision, their presence filling the valley with fear. Kale realized that these were not ordinary pursuers, they were hunters, trained to track and capture. The child stirred in his arms, humming softly. Kale could feel the energy radiating from it, like a protective shield. One of the hunters reached toward them, and the child's glow burst into a brilliant flash. The light burned through the shadows, forcing the hunters to stagger backward. Kale held his breath, astonished at the child's power and instinctive control. Kale knew they could not stay in the valley much longer. He remembered an old cave deep in the mountains, rumored to be untouched and hidden from outsiders. He sprinted toward it, the child clinging to him, the hunters recovering quickly and giving chase. The ground shook with each step, rocks tumbling down as if the valley itself was alive and testing their escape. Inside the cave, Kale and the child caught their breath, the cool stone walls echoing their movements. The child glowed softly, scanning the shadows, alert for any hidden dangers. Kale whispered, "We're safe, for now," but he knew the calm was temporary. The hunters were not ordinary, they would not give up, not for a creature as rare and powerful as this child. As night fell, Kale explored the cave, finding narrow tunnels and hidden chambers. He realized the cave could be a sanctuary, a place to hide and plan. The child's glow lit the path, revealing strange markings on the walls, symbols unlike any Kale had seen. He wondered if the cave itself had a connection to the child, a place of power perhaps, waiting for the right moment. Suddenly, a tremor shook the cave, dust falling from the ceiling. Kale felt the presence of something else, something ancient and alive. The child raised its small hands, sending a wave of energy ahead. From the shadows emerged a creature, enormous, with scales that shimmered like metal, eyes glowing with intelligence. Kale froze, unsure if it was a threat or an ally. The creature moved closer, sniffing the air, studying the child. The alien child did not cry or scream, it stood still, its glow steady. Kale realized the creature recognized the child, perhaps sensing its origin or power. The creature bowed slightly, a silent acknowledgement, and retreated deeper into the shadows. Kale exhaled, realizing they had witnessed something extraordinary, a guardian of the cave, awakened by the child's presence. Kale understood now that the child's abilities were growing, and with them, the dangers would increase. The hunters outside were only the beginning. The universe itself seemed to notice the child's existence. He made a promise silently, a vow that no matter what came, he would protect the child. Even if the universe itself was against them, even if the dangers were unimaginable. As dawn broke, Kale watched the sky from the cave entrance, the horizon calm but deceptive. He knew the hunters would return, stronger and more prepared. But he also knew the child was not just a baby. They were a force, growing with each day, a being of light and power. Together, they had survived the valley, and together, they would face whatever threats awaited. The story of a human and an alien, abandoned but united, was far from over. And in that quiet cave, Kale felt a flicker of hope. The child glowed warmly in his arms, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there was light. The bond between them had grown stronger, unbreakable. And with it, the courage to face a universe that would stop at nothing to claim what it sought. The cave was silent except for the soft hum of the alien child, its glow faint but steady. Kale watched closely, noticing subtle movements in its eyes, as if it were listening to things beyond human perception. The valley outside seemed calm, but Kale knew better. Danger had not left. They were only hidden, waiting for the right moment to strike. Kale had been studying the cave, discovering hidden tunnels and passages. Some led to underground streams, others to chambers with walls covered in strange symbols. He could feel the energy in the cave responding to the child. It pulsed gently with each movement, each touch, as if recognizing its presence. Suddenly, a sharp vibration ran through the ground, knocking dust from the ceiling. Kale grabbed the child, instinct screaming at him. From the entrance of the cave, shadows moved fast, faster than anything Kale had seen. The hunters had returned, stronger, smarter, with machines designed to track energy signatures. They were not just after the child, they wanted to control it, harness its power. Kale held the child close as the hunters approached. The child's glow grew, illuminating the dark cave with a soft blue light. The first hunter entered, scanning the area with a mechanical eye. Before it could reach them, a pulse of energy shot from the child's hands, knocking the hunter backward, sparks flying. Kale realized the child was learning, controlling its abilities instinctively, protecting them both. The next moments were chaos, shadows moving, hunters attacking with precision. Kale dodged, rolled, and ran through the tunnels, the child glowing brighter with every step. It seemed to anticipate danger, guiding him toward safety. They emerged into a hidden chamber, a place Kale had not explored before. Inside, the walls were covered with alien markings, glowing faintly, as if responding to the child's presence. Kale knelt beside the child, examining the symbols. They told a story he could not fully understand, but the meaning was clear. This child was part of something far greater than himself. It was a lineage of power, abandoned but not broken, meant to survive and grow. The hunters would never understand it, but they would stop at nothing to try. Outside, the valley trembled as the fleet returned, larger than before, their lights piercing the night sky. Kale knew they could not hide forever. He whispered to the child, "We have to fight. We have to survive." The child responded with a hum, its small hand glowing, sending a wave of light that repelled the approaching machines. Kale felt the energy wash over him, a strange warmth, a bond stronger than anything he had known. Suddenly, a massive shadow moved in the cave entrance, blocking their path. Kale's heart raced. It was one of the hunters, but larger, armored in strange, black metal, eyes glowing red. It advanced slowly, each step shaking the ground. Kale held the child close, feeling its pulse, its power building. With a sharp cry, the child unleashed a beam of light, striking the hunter with incredible force. The hunter fell backward, its armor shattered, sparks flying in all directions. Kale realized the child was not only defending, they were learning, growing stronger with every encounter. But he knew this was only the beginning. The universe had noticed the child, and the forces chasing them would not relent. Kale made a silent vow: he would protect this child, even if it meant facing the impossible. Even if it meant standing alone against the stars themselves. Night passed with tense silence, broken only by the hum of the child's glow. Kale watched the sky through a crack in the cave, the ships gone for now. He wondered who had left this child alone, why, and what destiny awaited them both. The questions burned in his mind, yet he could not focus. Survival was immediate, pressing, dangerous. By dawn, Kale and the child had prepared to move again, deeper into the mountains. The child's abilities were growing, stronger and more unpredictable. Kale felt a mixture of awe and fear, knowing that each step brought new dangers, but also new possibilities. He knew they were not just running, they were evolving, adapting, learning together. The bond between them was unbreakable, forged in fear, trust, and shared struggle. As they left the cave, the valley behind them seemed calm, but Kale's instincts told him it was an illusion. The hunters were still out there, waiting, calculating, preparing for the next strike. Yet for the first time, Kale felt a spark of hope. For in this small alien child, he had found not just a companion, but a force. Together, they could face the universe itself, and perhaps change it forever. And so, Kale and the child ventured into the unknown, the first steps of a journey that would test courage, strength, and the bonds between two very different beings. The story of survival, trust, and extraordinary power was only beginning, and the universe had yet to reveal its greatest challenges. Kale and the alien child moved cautiously through the rocky mountain paths. The air was thin, cold, and sharp against their skin. Every step echoed through the narrow canyons, carrying the tension of being hunted. Kale's hand never left the child, feeling its warmth, its pulse steady and reassuring. The valley below was quiet now, but Kale knew the calm was temporary. The hunters were relentless, and their ships would return, faster and more dangerous than before. He had seen what the child could do, the power it held, yet he also understood that they were not invincible. This journey was becoming a test of endurance, courage, and trust. As they rounded a cliff, a sudden tremor shook the ground beneath them. Kale grabbed the child, pressing it close. From the shadows, strange shapes emerged, creatures unlike any he had seen. They were tall, thin, with glowing eyes and metallic skin, moving silently as if floating above the rocks. Kale's heart raced. These were not ordinary predators, they were trackers, sent by unknown forces. Their glowing eyes locked on the child, sensing its energy from miles away. The child stirred, glowing brightly, small hands reaching outward. A wave of energy burst from it, striking the creatures, knocking them back. Kale shielded his eyes, feeling the raw force of the power. It was more than defense, it was instinct, intelligence, and courage all in one. The creatures recoiled but did not flee entirely, circling from a distance, waiting for another chance. Kale knew he had to move quickly. He spotted an abandoned outpost hidden in the rocks, half buried by time and erosion. It could provide shelter, a place to rest and plan their next move. He ran with the child in his arms, careful of every step. The trackers followed silently, their glowing eyes like stars in the darkness. Inside the outpost, Kale caught his breath, the child nestled against him, glowing softly. He explored cautiously, discovering old machinery and strange devices that hummed faintly. The alien child reached toward them, small fingers brushing the metal, and a spark of energy flowed through, activating the devices. Lights flickered across the walls, forming patterns that Kale could not understand. It was as if the child was revealing secrets hidden for centuries, secrets that even Kale could not yet comprehend. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside, metal scraping against rock. Kale rushed to the entrance and saw the trackers had followed them, stronger and faster than before. Their glowing eyes reflected hunger and calculation, moving like shadows against the rocks. Kale tightened his grip on the child, feeling its warmth and power. He whispered, we have to survive this, together. The child's glow expanded, pulsing with energy that lit the outpost. It sent a wave of force outward, knocking the trackers off balance. Kale realized the child was not just defending, they were learning, adapting, becoming stronger. The trackers recovered quickly, showing intelligence and strategy, circling again. Kale understood then that their journey would only grow more dangerous, the stakes higher than ever. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the hum of the child's glow and the distant sounds of the trackers retreating. Kale tended to the child, speaking softly, offering comfort and protection. He realized that the bond between them had grown stronger than words could describe. The child was not just a survivor, it was a teacher, a guide, and a force of nature. Together, they had faced impossible threats and survived, but the universe was not finished testing them. By nightfall, Kale gazed at the sky through a broken window, stars scattered like diamonds. He wondered who had left this child alone, why it was abandoned, and what destiny awaited them both. The child's glow pulsed softly, a reminder that they were not powerless. Kale made a silent vow, no matter what came, he would protect this child. Even if the universe itself stood against them, they would face it together. And so, in the abandoned outpost high in the mountains, Kale and the alien child prepared for the dangers ahead. The child, once alone and helpless, was becoming a being of light and power. Kale, the quiet human from a small settlement, was no longer just a guardian, he was a protector. And together, they were ready to face the next chapter of a story that would span stars, shadows, and unimaginable threats. The night sky stretched endlessly over the mountains, stars sparkling like distant fire. Kale held the alien child close, feeling its warmth, its gentle glow pulsing in time with his heartbeat. For days, they had fled from hunters, trackers, and unknown threats, surviving by instinct, courage, and trust. Yet Kale knew the final challenge was near, the moment where everything would be tested. From the shadows of the valley, the largest of the alien ships appeared, black and metallic, humming with deadly precision. Its arrival shook the ground, a warning echoing across the mountains. Kale realized the beings aboard were the ones who had abandoned the child, the true rulers of its kind. And now they had come to reclaim what they believed was theirs. The alien child stirred in Kale's arms, glowing brighter than ever. Its eyes locked on the ship as if recognizing familiar faces. Kale whispered, "We face this together," knowing that the bond between them was the only shield they had. The child's glow expanded, energy radiating outward, forming a protective barrier around them. As the ships descended, beams of light scanned the mountains, seeking to capture the child. Kale ran through the rugged terrain, the child clinging to him, their path illuminated by its soft, powerful glow. From above, the alien rulers deployed mechanical hunters, faster and more precise than anything Kale had faced before. Yet the child's energy deflected their attacks, pushing them back with a force Kale could hardly comprehend. The final confrontation was inevitable, and Kale realized that survival alone was not enough. The child had to confront its past, its origin, to secure their future. They reached a cliff overlooking a vast canyon, where the alien rulers had landed, their figures tall and imposing. Kale set the child down gently, feeling its small hands touch his, a silent message of trust and determination. The rulers advanced, voices echoing with authority, demanding the child return. Kale stepped forward, though he felt fear gnawing at him. "You will not take it," he said firmly, his voice carrying through the canyon. The rulers paused, surprised by the courage of a mere human, yet they advanced anyway, confident in their power. The child raised its hands, glowing intensely, the air trembling with energy. Kale watched as the power unleashed was beyond anything he had imagined, waves of force bending metal, scattering rocks, and pushing the rulers back. The child's cries mixed with the hum of energy, a sound both alien and profoundly beautiful. Kale realized the child was reclaiming its destiny, not as a helpless being, but as a force of its own. The rulers faltered, recognizing the child's power, but they would not surrender easily. Cale stood beside the child, his courage amplified by the bond they shared. Together, human and alien faced the overwhelming force, defying the universe's expectations. The light from the child's glow expanded until it filled the canyon, a shield and a statement. The rulers could not approach, forced to retreat, their ships lifting back into the dark sky. For the first time, Cale breathed freely, realizing that victory had been earned, not by force alone, but by trust, courage, and unity. As silence returned to the mountains, the child approached Cale, small hands resting on his shoulders. Its glow softened, warm and comforting, a signal of peace and gratitude. Cale knelt, looking into the child's large, luminous eyes, feeling the bond stronger than ever. He understood that they had survived together, not because of power alone, but because they had chosen each other. The journey was far from over, but the first great challenge had passed. Cale and the child stood on the cliff, looking at the stars, knowing the universe was vast and filled with mysteries. Yet they also knew they were no longer alone, no longer helpless. They were a team, united by fate, courage, and the extraordinary bond between human and alien. The alien child, once left alone in a basket, had been nurtured, protected, and loved by a human. Together, they had faced impossible odds, conquered fearsome enemies, and reclaimed hope. And as the sun rose over the mountains, casting golden light across the valley, Cale and the child stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever the universe had in store. Their story, born of trust and courage, was only beginning, a tale that would echo across stars and time.